Hi, I'm Kassie Davalos, and this is my presentation on naturalistic teaching. What is naturalistic teaching? Naturalistic teaching, or naturalistic interventions, take the principles of applied behavior analysis and incorporate them into play or other natural activities using natural reinforcers. Activities and exercises are planned and data is collected, just like any other teaching approach. Only these activities occur during the student's everyday routines and settings. These learned skills may be more easily generalized. Anyone can use naturalistic interventions, including teachers, special educators, therapists, paraprofessionals, and even parents and family members. The teaching can take place across a variety of settings, including in a school setting, out in the community, and in the child's home. Studies have shown that naturalistic intervention can be used effectively to address social, communication, joint attention, behavior, and academic skills. Naturalistic intervention meets the evidence-based practice criteria with 10 single case design studies. Neurotypical children have virtually thousands of opportunities to communicate each day. We are able to use naturalistic teaching approaches with our students by arranging their environments to elicit communication. And this method has proven effective not only in the acquisition of language, but also in the generalization of language skills across various environments. It can be particularly helpful when working on socialization, social language, and communication skills. In fact, studies have shown that behaviors are more likely to generalize when teachers use reinforcing consequences that occur naturally in the child's learning environment. According to Peterson, studies comparing naturalistic strategies to trainer-directed procedures like discrete child training found that children who were exposed to naturalistic language teaching interventions were more likely to generalize their use of language. Naturalistic teaching helps to create situations or settings that generate opportunity for language. This teaching method naturally leads to more spontaneous language use, and it helps to keep the student motivated and engaged in activities. Using naturalistic teaching throughout the child's day leads to more opportunity for practice, and it means that skills could be more easily generalized. It is important to use materials and toys that you know are going to motivate your learner to engage in the target behavior, and that will encourage generalization of skills. You should do a reinforcer assessment or collect some observational data before you start, so that way you have a good idea of what toys or activities will motivate your student and will keep them engaged during the activities. Some toys that can be particularly useful are items like Legos or puzzles, things that have many pieces. Mr. Potato Head, shape sorters, or a dollhouse. Bubbles could also be used in sessions. They are exciting and fun, and if the teacher is controlling the bubbles, the child could be required to ask for more, and then the child could practice popping the bubbles, and they could say pop, pop, pop. This is great for early language learners because it is fun, it's engaging, it gets them up and moving, and the P and the B sounds are early developing, and so it could be a great opportunity to elicit imitation of early bilabial speech sounds. The great thing about naturalistic teaching is that it is loosely structured and can be done anywhere, using any materials that the child enjoys. The procedures involve setting up the environment to encourage communication, According to Barbara and Rasmussen, naturalistic intervention is planned and purposeful, and it involves capturing and contriving motivation. Before we begin, it is important to identify and clearly define the target skill. We want to make sure to collect baseline data and develop a plan for implementation. So we want to decide who is going to do it, how they're going to do it, where, when it's going to take place, and how often it will happen. We also want to make sure that all staff involved are trained. The session should always be child-led and fun. It should seem more like play than work. And you should get right down on the child's level. So if the child likes to play on the floor, then get down on the floor with him. It is important to provide adequate wait time for the child, to initiate communication, and provide prompts if necessary. Prompting should be provided to help facilitate the student's communication. You should use things like modeling, manned modeling, and time delay procedures during these sessions. And we want to make sure that we're expanding on their language utterances, responding and commenting to what they are saying and doing, providing feedback, asking questions, offering choices, and imitating. Time delay procedures will increase the time between the instruction and any prompts given. The child should be given the desired item after they respond appropriately, and prompts should be faded over time. For this demonstration, our activity will target using words to ask for an object. That could be a toy, a snack, or materials that are needed for the preferred activities. I will be setting some preferred toys out of the student's reach in order to encourage requesting. I'll keep a lid tightly closed on some Legos so that he must ask me to open the jar. And then when we will finish with a snack. If the child enjoys coloring, we could also give the child one color at a time and require that he request more, or if we're working on colors, we can have him request a specific color. Or he could even be given a dried out marker that doesn't work anymore, and then he will have to ask for help or ask for a different marker. These are just some ideas. These activities all will encourage the use of mands, tacts, and interverbals, but it's important to note that the possibilities with naturalistic teaching are endless. Now please watch a short video demonstration of some naturalistic teaching strategies. Look at all these great toys we have. What do you want to play with first?
Legos.
Oh, the Legos. Make some room here. Here's the Lego. What is this thing?
It's a spaceship.
All right. Let's piece it in there. There you go. Do you need help?
Yes.
Say open, please.
Open, please.
There you go. Do you want the big circle or the little circle?
Big circle.
Is that the top or the bottom?
It's the bottom.
Can I have a turn? I'll put this one. Does this one go here?
No.
Is that how it goes?
Yep.
Awesome. You want to put another piece on?
Yes.
something else?
Yes.
Let's put away. Let's put that away. Do you want to do the spaceship or the dollhouse?
Spaceship.
It's like in outer space. What should we put in first? Should we do robot?
Yes.
We say robot.
Robot.
There you go. And should we just put them on there, or do you want to glue them on?
Glue.
Okay. Just the glue. Which we sweep it. Put it on there. We can put space.
Planet.
Hey, which one? Do you want? What color is this?
Okay.
Okay. And this one is which one?
Green.
The green one. Maybe I'll put one on next. Should I do the space kid? Where should I put them? Right in the middle. And he looks like he needs a space suit. Should we do? Oh, do you want a snack?
Yeah.
Okay, let's help clean up, please. You close it. I'll get the snack for us. So we've got something to eat, something to drink. So, do you want gummies or cookies?
Gummies.
Okay. There you go. I'll get some juice for you. Do you want some juice?
Yes.
What do you like to drink? Do you like water or
Juice. Open juice. That's really good.
nice asking? There you go. Some little juice. What does it smell like?
Great.
More?
Yes.
Which one?
Gummies.
Data should be collected regularly to monitor progress, and one should also keep in mind that treatment fidelity is important to monitor as well, even with these more loosely structured teaching methods such as naturalistic interventions. Data can help us to evaluate if our interventions are successful, and it can also help to guide us to what we should do in future sessions. We can look back at our data and say, this definitely worked, or this is something that did not work and we should not do it again. Data should note the date of the session, the length of the session, the activity that was done, what environmental modifications that the teacher used, like were toys placed out of the reach of the child, or were lids put too tightly on jars, and how many times the targeted behavior was observed. And then we also want to note what prompts were provided to the child. One could also use frequency data collection to count the number of times that the targeted behavior occurs during a designated time period. If the child is really moving around a lot, or you're doing an activity that has a lot of motion and movement and activity, you could use one of those tracker devices, the clicker trackers, to track the number of targeted behaviors during a designated time, or you could even put a piece of tape on your wrist and keep a tally of the targeted behaviors as they occur during the sessions. You can really make the data collection method work for you based on the session. For this demonstration, I used the following data collection form, which allowed me to count how many times the targeted behavior occurred in that 5-minute session. I collected data targeting the number of verbal requests that the student made in our session today. And then I also recorded what prompts were used to elicit responses.